Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Charlotte Post and the Triangle Tribune webinar this evening. We'll be celebrating the legacy of legendary track and field coach George Pup Williams. We're honored to have you with us as we reflect on his extraordinary journey from leading St. Augustine University to 39 NCAA national championships to serving on a U.S. Olympic track and field head coach in 2004. His story is one of excellence, perseverance, and deep commitment to mentoring the next generation. This event is proudly hosted by the Triangle Tribune newspaper, your trusted source for news and stories that impact the Black community here in the Triangle region. We are more than just a newspaper. We are a multimedia company committed to informing, engaging, and empowering our audience across platforms, from print to digital to live events like today. We are also proud to be the sister publication of the Charlotte Post newspaper, a long-standing legacy of excellence in Black media. Today, we are dedicated to telling our stories, preserving our history, and celebrating the achievements of leaders like Coach Williams. Before we dive into you to participate in a few polls throughout today's session as well. So we'd like to get your engagement on our conversation this evening. As we said, the Charlotte Post Publishing Company, we publish of community newspapers, the Charlotte Post and the Triangle Tribune newspaper, serving Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and Cary, North Carolina. We are minority owned and operated. And follow us on our social media platforms. We are there. And now I'd like to go over a few of our webinar etiquette. As we know, in this virtual space, sometimes you get disconnected. You may mute or something. If you have a bad connection, we're going to ask that you come back on. We'll be waiting. The conversation will still be continued, and that's also for all the panelists as well. So don't hesitate. The virtual space is great, but sometimes things just happen. We will be having Q&A time this evening. Yes, we would love for you to ask questions. And we're going to ask that you place your questions in the Q&A section on your Zoom screen, as you can see display here. It should be on the lower level by your toolbar, possibly on the upper or lower part. You'll see a Q&A. We ask that you put your questions there, and our panelists will monitor them throughout the conversation. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to our CEO, publisher of the Charlotte Post Publishing Company, Gerald O. Johnson. Gerald, here we are.
Yolanda, and thank you for that introduction. I am happy that you all were able to attend, and I am looking forward to this. I have been a strong follower and one of my heroes. We're going to interview today, George Williams. I've never met him in person, but I've been reading about him and following him since he got into since he got into coaching at St. Augustine. And so I am interested in hearing this story, and I'm sure you all are too. And so having said that, I want to get right into it. And I'm going to turn it over to Bonita Best, our managing editor of the Triangle Tribune. And she's going to follow that with Alex Bass, who's our lead reporter for the Triangle Tribune. And so, Bonita, take it over.
Thank you, Gerald. So, Alex, I'm going to let you introduce Sir George to everybody.
Sir George.
Sir George.
I like that.
You have to listen to his voicemail on his cell phone. It's priceless.
Well, thank you, Bonita, because that's exactly what I was about to say right there. Yes, when you reach the voicemail of Sir George, and yes, that is very, very appropriate. Mr. George Williams, who, despite that title, just like we were talking earlier this evening, as we have discussed, he's been a mentor and friend to me for most of my life, is just the George who you would meet down the street. He wants to be that teacher, that advocate, that mentor for anyone and everyone who comes along. We can sit here and talk about the 39 national championships at the Division II level at St. Augustine's University. We can talk about his experience on the world stage as a head coach for United States Olympic and World Championship teams. And we could talk about so much more. But I want to frame all that within perspective of what I call 4 A's. This gentleman, a graduate of St. Augustine's College, now university, has embraced service and leadership, faithful servant leadership opportunities through admissions, alumni, athletics, all geared toward the advancement of the institution's higher education mission. He is a teacher first and foremost, whether it be his roots as a teacher at Carey Elementary, whether it be his mentorship on the track itself, whether it be his ability to galvanize student athletes in tragic situations as he stepped into a teaching role in the 1997-98 basketball season following the tragic death of St. Augustine's men's basketball coach Norvell Lee, and being that day in and day out mentor that student athletes needed, whether it be through his ability to reach out to the greater community, I would say the greater Raleigh community, just for instance, in terms of creating meaningful learning and engagement opportunities for young people, welcoming them to the space of the George Williams Athletics Complex and fostering opportunities for his own student athletes, from those who became Olympic gold medalists to those who continue to emerge as time went on to become teachers and mentors of young people themselves. His greatest joy, as we were just talking again this evening, is recounting the many individuals who were his student athletes who now have embraced that mantle of servant leadership through teaching and mentoring young people, just as Sir George, Coach Williams, mentored them. A lifetime of commitment to one's alma mater, a model of faithful servant leadership for us all. Again, admissions, alumni, athletics, all geared toward the advancement of a higher education institution's mission. It is my high honor and great privilege to welcome and to present to all here my good friend, my mentor, a leader in education-based athletics, an exemplar of the human spirit, Sir George Williams.
Okay, that's excellent. I mean, what a bio there, Alex. Before we dive in, I just would like to get some participation with a few posed questions of today's session from our attendees. And this will be a fun and interactive way for us to learn more about you and your thoughts on today's topic. Feel free to drop questions and comments in the Q&A as we go. So we have a few questions on the screen here. The interview with the legendary track and field coach, George Williams. How familiar are you with Coach George Williams? Which of Coach Williams' accomplishments inspires you the most? What quality do you believe made Coach Williams a legendary coach? Would you be interested in future webinars on legendary African-American coaches as well? And so we'll take the polls. It's going to pop up on your deck here, and we'll let you know what the results are from the audience. So at this time, we are starting the poll, and you can scroll down. There's 4 questions for you to engage and participate. So please proceed with answering our polls for this evening.
So, Coach, good to see you again as always.
Benita, you know, you just like family. I love you, girl. I've seen you grow. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the accomplishments that you've achieved. And you're just like family, because as long as I've stayed at St. Augustine's University, you stayed with the Carolina, with the newspaper. And there have been some ups and downs, but more ups than downs. And you learn how to handle it. And so, like I always tell people, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know the play. Okay?
That's so true. That's since 1998.
That's right.
Coach, before I start with questions, I just want to read you some Facebook comments when we made the announcement that you were going to be on tonight. And okay, it's just a few. Carl Baxter, legendary coach, great friend. Earl Chestnut.
Oh, wow.
You know that? Yeah. Coach is one of the best, and I have been knowing him for so many years. And I love the conversations we always have. I learned a lot from him over the years. Greg Coates.
Oh, boy, myself. I always tell him, you know, he and I always got this conversation. I say, Greg, you jumped 7'4". He said, no, Coach, 7'4 1/4.
And that's what he wrote. My college coach, I went from high jumping 6 feet 7 inches to 7 feet 4 1/4 inch.
Right.
That's exactly what he put.
That's my kid. I love them, boy. I love all my kids.
Okay. All right. Shakira Rutherford.
Oh wow. Sure,
The best to ever do it.
Mm-mm.
Already had one of my babies under his
That's right.
teaching.
Mhm.
Can't wait to get the next one.
Oh wow. That's my baby.
All
Love
right,
you,
I
girl.
do a couple of more. Dwayne Reed,
Oh wow. Okay.
one hell of a coach. Loved competing against St. Aug between 1983 to 87.
Right.
He built an awesome program. Feet don't fail me now.
That's right. That's our motto.
And one more from Curtis Fry.
Oh boy, that's my guy. He used to recruit for St. Aug track.
He said, my friend, a NCAA living legend of championships, King George.
My man Curtis. Love
And
you,
that
brother.
was that's just a few of the ones that came through. How does that make you feel?
Oh wow.
Never forgotten.
You know, the friendship and the love of people in this sport, it really makes me feel wow. It makes me feel some kind of way. I guess words of expression is quite difficult. Only the heart can continue to speak right now. Okay.
Okay, I understand.
Right.
Let's
So,
talk about. Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the poll there. And you're going to share the results here from the poll that we had this evening with the questions there. So, Benita, Alex, this is what our audience have responded for the webinar this evening.
I'll let you tell them, Alex.
Okay. Well, I want to begin with that second question right there. Which of Coach Williams' accomplishments inspires you the most? 67%, all of the above. The realization, but that speaks to our audience's realization that it's the total package, that it all has to come together. The realization that those national championships, longevity, Olympic milestones, et cetera, are tied to his mentorship and dedication to people, to his athletes, to an institution, to a country. It all has to come together. So, yes, very, very appropriate right there. And number one, 61% who say that they know of his achievements very, very well. And the beautiful thing about that is the achievements are a corridor to what we're going to do tonight, where they can come and know the gentleman even more. Achievements give us the corridor to know the person. And that is a beautiful thing, tied to number 3 right here. Those personal qualities right there, leading the way, care for athletes. Care for athletes. And notice that a 2-to-1 ratio, care for athletes over ability to develop champions. Champions are absolutely wonderful. But you see, people who understand, Coach Williams is one who embraces the mantra. Nobody cares what someone knows until they know that you care.
Right.
And you see that in this poll right here. And then lastly, how could you not be interested in future webinars when you have the nexus of all of these things right here?
Absolutely.
The achievements give us the lens to know the person.
Right.
When we can realize a person of this magnitude, then the achievements take care of themselves. And of course, if we can meet more in the mold of George Williams, of course people want to do that. That makes total sense.
Great. Well, thank you to our audiences for participating in the poll. Great information. And at this time, we'll turn it over to Benita to start the conversation. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Coach, we go back to 1990 to 1998, but I want to ask you about, a lot of people may not know or remember that you coached after the tragic death of Norvell Lee, you coached the men's basketball team that 1997-98. If I'm
Right.
not mistaken, you coached them all the way to the CIAA championship game,
I sure did.
and they was lost in the championship. So, but first of all, let me stop. I went and dug out the CIAA track T-shirt from 2004.
Oh,
I had to do some digging, but in honor of you, I wanted to wear this T-shirt.
thank you so very much.
But you led them to the championship. You had not coached basketball before, correct?
Right.
Did you ever consider switching over? Because I mean that says a lot.
You know, coaching is the same, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, soccer, whatever. It's a relationship with athletes, and that's the most important factor. I never wanted to coach basketball. I played basketball. I was one of the CIAA top scorers. But when I was coaching basketball that year. I coached in cross country, indoor track, outdoor track, men and women, and basketball. And it felt like the whole world was on my shoulder. And what I find out about the difference in the two sports were that basketball, everybody in the stadium can coach it. If you win by 20, they want to know why you didn't play John. If you lose by 20, they want to know why you didn't play Jimmy. And I didn't feel like that was the kind of thing that I need to go through every weekend. And track is an individual event that each kid does his own thing. And then at the end, you add all the scores up together. It's an individual event with a team concept. And it's just like most jobs, just like Dr. Johnson, his newspaper come. All y'all got to do your job, but at the end, you got to put it all together and the paper come out. Okay? So it's an individual event, but it's a team concept. And everybody on that team has to add their part to make the paper successful. And that's the same thing about track and field. But basketball, you got 5 guys out there, and you got and all 5 of them want the basketball. And you don't have but one basketball. You know, I said, baby, if I had developed the game, I would have given everybody a basketball and just run and shoot when you got ready to do whatever you want to do. But there's 5 basketball. Only one basketball out there, 5 athletes. And one guy feels like the basketball belonged to him more than the other guys. And it's something that I didn't want to be a part of. And I played, and I'm saying to myself, when I played the game, was I like that? And then I asked one of my teammates, I said, when I was playing the game, was I like that? They said, well, you never saw a shot you didn't like. I said, oh my God. I said, well, maybe I was, but I was at a young age then, And that's why I told that team, and I really I didn't, I had a good relationship with them, and I just told them 3 things. We don't run plays, we run patterns. And you can't shoot too much, but you can miss too much. and when in doubt, get 2. So that was my 3. Everybody who played with me that year, they know that's what it was, And plays, usually when people run plays, they run and it don't work. They stop and try to do it over again. But patterns, you just keep on going until you get 2, And it's kind of like a run. And so I think at St. Aug, I'm the only coach that won the CIAA regional championship by myself. And all those guys who won the NCAA and who won the they never won a regional championship, a CIAA regional, like the East and the West.
Right.
And then Coach Hargrove, he tied with somebody, but outright. And that's why, coaching is more than X's and O's and 300, 400s and 500s. It's about a relationship, making sure that the kids do what they need to do out there and in the class. Because, my motto, you might be fast, but your A is going to class, okay? Yeah, and that's it, And so it was real simple, and that's why I graduated. That's why we graduated 95 to 96% of our student athletes.
Well, Coach, with all the championships you won, CIAA national,
Mm-hmm.
people always say you never forget your first love.
Mm-hmm.
You still gotta win that first one.
Mm-hmm.
Is the first one still the sweetest? The one that it's that first championship. Or is there something else?
It's amazing. The first championship was won. The national championship was won by women in 1985, and I guess I'm still trying to feel that championship because I've never got to the point where winning championships was the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal for me and my kids was to get a degree and to graduate. So we never, I always was saying, if we need a pat on the back, we'll get a massage. You know what I mean? We never looked for that pat on the back. And we just kept moving. And these championships you guys are talking about, I know we won 41, but we had a couple of hiccups in 2. I think we had one guy who was tested positive for weeds. And then we had one guy that he was eligible, but they changed, he had an eye changed. And it was changed after the due date for the NCAA. And so they took both of those championships away. And, it's so. I don't know why they took the championship because we won each one of them by 20-some points. And there was only one kid. And if you took the 10 points from one kid, we still would have won the championship. But if that's the rule of the law, then it must be, And so I didn't get caught up with that, worried about that or anything. But other than that, everything else was good. And we, I can't hardly remember too many of those championships. I'll be honest with you. All I know is that we go and we try to do the best we can. And when they announce the champions at the end, if they say St. Augustine, we go. Because I was telling people, a lot of folks don't understand that they talk about we won 39 national championships, but we also won 27 second places. And so I always tell the kids that we've been winning a whole lot. We've been number one. We were number one, and we were the number one loser.
But they're the end either way, right? Yeah.
Right. So
we had a joke in the media, especially with the national championships, because it was always you and I forgot the other
Abilene. Yeah.
So we would just laugh because up to going up to the final day, St. Aug would be behind. I mean, just like way behind.
Right.
And people would be saying, well, no, they're not going to make it this year. And we would just start laughing because we knew that your best was always on the last day.
That's right.
And sure enough, when the last day came, St. Aug would be something from 8th or wherever, 4th, wherever, they would be crossing that podium.
Yeah.
Every time did you ever time that you never thought that you didn't have a chance to win?
Every time I get there, I don't think I have a chance. Everybody got the same chance to win it, That's why they have a championship. And I think when you go there I never go there with expectation. I go there to do the best because see, in championships, that's why they have championships. Because I always says somebody gonna get the peanut and somebody gonna get the hug. Okay. And then you're gonna get bonuses from other teams and you're gonna give other team bonuses. So you don't know which way it's gonna come out. But my preparation is that when I leave, if I got 2 guys in the 100, 3 guys in the 200, 400 or something, I expect to get something out of these kids. But we would never, St. Augustine's University, I think we had 1,000 kids, 1,200, 900. We would never had the respect of the other schools because they knew we didn't have the infrastructure, the facility. We didn't have, we drove to the national championship. We drive from Raleigh all the way to North Dakota in vans. We get out the van. By the time we get there, it's time to declare your athletes. Then we declare the athlete. Then we get ready, get up in the morning, we run. And then we go the next day, we run, and we win the national championship, both men and women. We get in the van, we're on our way back to Raleigh. And see, those are things that people don't know about. That's why I always say, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know the play. So that's why I never complain about anything that goes on in other people's life or their jobs or of their work. Because in order to know what's going on, you have to be in the huddle, okay? And we drove, every year we go to Indiana, we would drive our vans. And one time, this is honest God truth, we were driving to Indiana and it was snowing up in the mountains of West Virginia. And one of the vans slipped off the road, was going down the embankment. A tree stopped it. And we had to crawl up front to try to get out the van to keep it from turning over to going down the ravine. And then a truck came along, pulled us out, and we drove on over to Indiana. Kids got out, we just in time to get on the track. We won the national championship, and we took our time and we came on back down West Virginia on that turnpike.
Never heard that story.
You talk about a slow man, a slow man to China. We were we know what that ice to do for you. And most of our kids, like from foreign countries, like Africa and Jamaica and Florida and all those places, we didn't know nothing about no ice and sliding and stuff. But we knew then.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it was a true story.
So did you use the fact that St. Aug, being a small school, people don't give you respect? Did you use that for motivation, or did the kids, you didn't have to, the kids had a chip on their shoulder when they got there because they know you kind of being looked down on?
Well, we don't get caught up in that stuff. We knew we didn't have a track. We won, 5 or 6 championships without a track. And, it's people like Dr. Leroy Walker, the Big House Games, who I went to and to find out. And then I had people in Miami and Washington, D.C. who was sending me student athletes. After I find out, I remember when I first started coaching track, I asked Dr. Walker, I said, Dr. Walker, you are a winner. So what does it take for me to develop a track program? Because the first CIAA track field championship I went to, I think my team scored 4 points. And he said, well, you have to have a good relationship with your kids. You have to learn how to train them. You have to have, and here's a workout that you can start off about and you can figure out. And then he gave me a book, man. Somebody confiscated my book. I didn't say they didn't steal it. Maybe they still might be on the way bringing it back. But they took my book. They took my book, and that was 1970. That was 1976. Okay, they still were on their way to bring it back, you know. But they'll get here before I leave here, I'm quite sure.
Okay.
But they took the book, and it was on biomechanics and techniques. And Dr. Walker was the only Black that got a doctor's degree in biomechanics and technique from New York University. And he trusts me with that book. And somebody's just, they bringing it back. I know they bringing it back. You know, we don't do that to each other, you know. And then I ran in Winston-Salem. They had the CIAA and Axe Big House games because I played ball against Winston-Salem. They had good teams. They were winning. They were championship. So I asked him what was his forte and how did he win championships? And he looked at me because when I first started coaching, I had all the kids on the basketball team to come out for track. And he said, just like this, he said, damn, George, you can't win no track with basketball players. You got to go and get some track athletes. And then I said, oh, and the light came on. And I said, I ran track in Florida. We run track in Florida. And I had a friend at Miami-Dade Community College, Coach Richardson. And I went down, and Roy Ector, and who was my assistant coach for a long time. And he decided, I said, well, y'all come to St. Aug. I said, I'm going to be honest and truthful with you. We don't have a great track program. We are trying to build. But one thing I can almost assure you, that I will be on your butt until you graduate. And I can almost promise you some kind of degree that we can get together and make that happen. And then they all walked up and they saw St. Aug, they saw this little school and everything, because they had scholarships, Texas Southern, Grambling, and all those schools and everything, and Kansas, and they decided, hey, we're going back there because that man told us the truth. And they came back. In the second year, we got second in the CIAA. And the third year, we did not lose the CIAA until we had that hiccup with Norfolk State. And they didn't win it, and we didn't win it, but I guess the commissioner graduated from Norfolk. He wanted to give it to Norfolk. But no team is a winner unless you have a score. And they didn't have a score because they didn't finish the mile relay. We didn't finish the 800 meters. And so that's what happened. And so if the race wasn't finished, then you get the highest two teams, which had the scores with St. Aug and Norfolk, and just say both of us are champions, you know. And we hadn't lost one since then. I know even after that, we hadn't lost one. I think we won 25, 30, 50, 40, 50 number. I don't know. I don't count that stuff. I don't have time. I just go by what you got.
Job.
That's your job. I don't have that. I'm not gonna take your job from you. I'm gonna let you keep that job.
All right. Alex?
Coach Williams, I'd like to ask a question about geographical space, the spatial dimensions of 1315 Oakwood Avenue. It has to be noted for those who might be less familiar with the campus that if athletics are the front porch of an institution because of the visibility, that when one walks into the James Boyer building or the administrative building, and the first thing they see are trophy cases lined with NCAA national championship trophies.
Right.
That's one side of the campus. And then when one travels down State Street towards its intersection of Glasscock Street toward the home of the esteemed Dr. Prezell Robinson, and the nearest on-campus venue to the venerable president's residence is the George Williams Athletics Complex. both ends of the institution imprinted with your legacy in the names of buildings of two alums like you who served as presidents of the institution. And your legacy is there. Yeah, you're still the same guy who ate lunch in the cafeteria every day
Right.
right in the heart of campus. For people who might look at you as a university brand, have you ever thought about the way space is laid out like that and your relationship to Doctors Boyer and Robinson because of those details and where things are located?
Wow, I don't think that was designed by human. It was designed by God. And those two guys they are just outstanding. Dr. God bless him, and Dr. Robinson is still with us. They were just outstanding. They stayed there as long. Dr. Boyer played football at St. Augustine's University, St. Augustine's College. Dr. Robinson ran the 800 meters, ran track for St. Augustine's University. I went out and begged money from the city to get the stadium done. And we could have done, it's something about us sometime as a people, because when I went to Ike Belt said that he was going to build me a press box at St. Augustine's University. And we talked, and everything Ike does, he write it down on a piece of paper. And then after that, he said, well, he offered me $2 million to build a press box. And then we started talking, and then he said, Coach Williams, who am I? Because Dr. Walker and I put Ike Belt on the USA Track and Field Olympic Committee. And I was responsible for that. And if you ever go to Colorado Springs, everything up there is named Ike Belt. But as we got there, and so we talked, he said, well, come go to lunch with me. He took me over to the shopping mall. I think he owned that shopping mall over there, right across from his office. And we sat down and had lunch. He said, well, I'm out to give you $2 million. He said, just let me know how much the press box costs. And I was supposed to put his name, my name, and Dr. Walker's name on it. So I went and we got together, me and Dr. Ward, and we got Freelon design the press box. And I'm saying, this is going to be awesome. Freelon designed the press box, and we designed the National Black Museum. Mm-hmm. And I said, and then I wrote a proposal just before I left to the city of Raleigh, the county. They had like $41 million, just slush money. And I asked for 25 of it to build an athletic program complex. They said they would give me 18 million. But somebody on our board of trustees didn't see that was feasible because they didn't want me to do that. And so they decided to send me uptown. Since I came from Overtown, Miami, they sent me uptown this time. And so, because I used to always tell my kids, if you keep doing that, you're going uptown, and they know that means you're going to go to jail. I tell them, if you don't get your books, I know when I see you again, you're going to ask me, do I want some fries with that? So you need to get your education. So we worked on that. But it's a sad situation that our board did what they did. And I'm not mad with anybody. I don't get mad. I don't get angry. Like I say, maybe I wasn't in their huddle. Maybe something they saw that I didn't see. But that school is, I was 150 57, 58 years old. And to see somebody not believe in what God have given us in the Episcopal Church and all that, it's a sad situation. And I don't never give up. I might give out though, but I don't never give up. I'll go until I give out, and I'm still fighting. And I'm not giving up on that institution, because when I was coming out of high school, I was supposed to go to University of Kansas. And that didn't go through like I wanted to, because I wanted to play basketball and they wanted me to run track. And I was in Miami. And the guys find out that I was in Miami, and they find out I was there. And they came and got me in October the 22nd. I never forget it. And I had to jump on a bus, come to Raleigh with an apple and a couple of sandwiches. And when I got to South Carolina, the bus driver made me get up and stand all the way to Raleigh and give my seat to a white lady. And I gave her my seat, because I didn't want no stuff. I didn't want nobody to throw me off that bus, because I didn't know where I was and everything. I was nice and kind, and I gave my seat up. And I stood all the way to Raleigh. When I got to Raleigh, and my cousin was at St. Aug, he came and picked me up, took me over, and got in my room with my 3 other roommates. And I was the only freshman to make the basketball team. And they all thought, because they used to in Miami, they said, that guy's a dog, man. He's good in everything, track, basketball. And so the guys, my roommate said, and everybody saying, boy, dog coming up, that dog. And they said, when I got there, I was 5'9" and a half, weigh 155 pounds. And they were looking for somebody 6'6" or 6'7", weighing 200 some pounds. And my roommate said, man, you too small to be a dog. We're going to call you Pup. And so that's where we got George Williams Pup. And you're too young, yeah.
That's where you got Pop.
Yeah, that's where it come from. Yeah, my roommate. Yeah, and they said, we thought you were gonna be a giant. Everybody talking about, wait till you get here and make sure you do this, and you gonna do this on the basketball court, and you this and you that and that. I was high school All-America, so they thought that was the big guy, out of Miami, Florida. Oh man. And they found out that I was that same little guy. And then when I finished St. Aug and I was going to the Detroit Pistons, I went from Detroit Pistons said I was 6'1" and a half. And they didn't even match my afro down. I had an afro. so it was all hair. But they sent me back home. So life has a way of doing things, And, I got me a teacher's job because I had a degree in early childhood education. And then I went to Central, got a master's in elementary education. And then I went to Wake Forest and got a master's in a certificate in college administration. So, your life is planned for you basically in one way. You just got to figure out which one to take. That's why I always tell my kids, God don't make winners and God don't make losers. He makes choosers. Your choice determines where you go and how you get there. Because them bad choices, boy, they're going to hit you right in the seat of your pants real hard, quick. But good choices, sometimes it takes a little time to develop, but you'll know when it's a good choice. And that's why we need to teach our young people choices. Because some of them don't know number one choice, and that's telephone and TV. And we need to teach them there's other choices out there, so they can make the good choices and the best choices.
So let's go back to what you said about when you were coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. And we're in a landscape right now where that high school to college transition, mm-hmm. because of name, image, and likeness and everything else,
right,
it's just changed everything in ways we never could have imagined.
Right.
What do you foresee as obviously it's settled in and it's not going anywhere, but some of the longer term implications of name, image, and likeness, and more specifically, how that will play into the HBCU athletics landscape and experience.
The problem is right now, and listen, and I know I won't see it in the next 4 years. So that's the narrative is not going to change with that. But I was telling someone the other day, when you look at these names and likes, you know, and you look at the black and the white, and you know, I don't condemn any color or anything like that, but you see that usually the white athlete get a little more money than the black athlete. And it's not a racist thing. It's just like anything. When you broke take anything.
Mm-hmm.
Broke don't have chance to negotiate. And the other people negotiate. And just like they was used to talk about, they talk about the pros, how they all come out and the first thing they do, they buy gold, they buy cars for their mama, they buy houses and everything. And they ask me, why don't the white folks do that? Shit, they already got cars and money. Why should they do that? We don't have it. They already got cars and money. You know what I mean? And so they don't have time to go and do that and buy all that stuff for their mama because they already have it, you know. And so people have to look at the whole scenario of these things before they started talking about it, you know. Mm-hmm.
That's a great question.
It's not going to change as long as, you know, money don't change. Money is still money. Money is still the same, and economics. And if our people ever learn the real economics, and the real economics is not but two things. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save. Mm-hmm. That's all the economics we need to know. We don't save nothing, zero, or we don't invest, we don't do nothing. We just spend all our money. But if we started saving our money, the money that comes through our hands and the money that we make, we'll be the most powerful race in the world.
I'm going to take a little look at just looking in a legacy perspective. We were talking earlier about how so many people, particularly the youngest among us, are challenged to connect names and faces for understanding history and legacy. So we have to begin those conversations with them. Let's use the concept of a Mount Rushmore on the St. Augustine's campus. If we were to impart some of that legacy to the youngest among us, who would you say, or the context of three people who would join you on St. Augustine's Mount Rushmore in terms of for people to understand the history and legacy of the institution?
Well, it's so many, but you're putting a lot of pressure on me, boy, because a lot of people came from St. Augustine University and done really, 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 really well. Okay, now, you know, you can't, you know, you would have to almost go back to the starting of the presidents, the starting of the founders, and all that stuff. But I do know Dr. Walker State. I mean, not Dr. Walker. Excuse me, Doc. I love you, Doc. Dr. Robinson was there a long time. Dr. Boyer did a great job. But you got to go back to people like a guy named Singletary, who was an outstanding track guy, one of the best around. You have to go back and talk about the Attorney General and everything of Oklahoma, the young lady. And you definitely can't not leave out Lord Quarterman. He was with Einstein in developing the atom bomb. You know, so you started going and you started finding and looking at the history of the university. All us is the Mount Rushmore. HBCUs. You know, you can't put out no one guy. I mean, y'all just happen to be talking to me now, but if God was willing and y'all had this weather back in the day, y'all wouldn't be talking to me. I'm just telling you, you'd be talking to somebody else. You know what I mean? Because there's so many great people that come out of that university and done so many great things. And that's why that university needs to exist and continue to exist, because you find people like me to get there who have that chance, that second chance, or that third chance in life, where we give each other. And you're gonna have a problem now with this DEI stuff, man. You're gonna have kids out there who probably can be an inventor of something that we really need now. I was just telling my wife, we were coming back from my graduation this week, and my granddaughter graduated from Howard, and my other granddaughter graduated from Penn State. And I said, if it wasn't for a Black woman, we probably couldn't have found Penn State, because we wouldn't have had the GPS. You know what I mean?
That's correct.
And so
that's correct.
So what are we doing? What are we saying to each other? And so look here. We got a legend right here. George Johnson. This man owns the newspaper that which our government don't want nobody to own nothing. And he persevered, and he kept it. You know, I'm not in his hustle, but I know as a Black man, he has some ups and downs.
Question.
You know, and he's still holding in here, and he's doing it, and he's trying to give our community the story. You know, see, we as people, we don't see nothing but the glory. But you got to know the story, baby. If you don't know the story, the glory don't mean nothing to you. You know.
That's true.
And
well,
so
Coach, we have a Q&A. And the question is, where do you see St. Aug and Shaw in the next 5 to 10 years? Wow, that's a question.
Where do I see them?
That's questions to you.
Well,
that's tough.
It all depends on the guidance and the leadership. The guidance and leadership, I see St. Aug still and Shaw still existing, but they have to change the narrative. You can't be no teacher college anymore. You might have to be an AI college. You might have to be whatever is out there now. You might have to be a communication college. Whatever's going for the trend, we have to stop just doing one thing. We just have to stop being a liberal art college, talk about history and all that stuff. We got to talk about what's going on in the world and how we can be. We might be the cyber college of the world, you know, or whatever. We have to change our narrative as a Black institution. And if we do that, just like you say, you know, God don't make winners or losers. He makes choosers. You got to make the right choices. You make the right choices and stick with the right things that are going on. Why should we go anywhere? There's still people who want to come to our universities, and there are people who can't go to the other universities. All our people that can't get to Harvard to learn there, to Carolina to learn there, the state ain't gonna take us, or this ain't gonna take us. Let's take ourselves. We have to stop and get to the point where we have to still beg them. Let them beg us sometime. Let's just develop our own thing, okay? And I think they'll be around. It's all depend on the leadership, okay?
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
That's you answered one, because one of it was going to be how you got that pup name, but you already answered that one. But one thing that just fascinated me about you and your career is that when I found out that you were a basketball player in high school and you went to St. Aug basketball player, got kicked out of Detroit and all of that. But at the end of the day, nothing in anything that I learned about you said anything about you being a coach. And
Right.
here you are now coming out after going into the school and getting teaching jobs and that sort of thing. You ended up being a coach for a track team.
Mhm.
And now you a legendary coach for that track team as well as a winner for the Olympics. And the thing that just fascinated me about all of that was how did you go from that early start, getting into coaching, and now being one of the greatest coaches of all time? Help me understand that, because that's just a fascinating piece to me.
Well, it's anything you get into, you got to want to do your best. And as I said earlier, that once Dr. Davis walked up to me and asked me to hold the track team until they found a new coach. I was assistant basketball coach at the time. And he said, well, would you do that? I said to them just like this. I said, Dr. Davis, my forte is basketball. But if you want me to hold the track and coach till you find a new coach, Coach Harvin had just left to go back to Virginia with his family. And that was in 1976. In 1996, I was still interim waiting for somebody to come take the track. I was never a Doubt's head track and field coach, okay? so I was still holding it down for somebody to get there. And then but while holding it down, like talking to Dr. Walker and Big House games and trying to feel like what coaching is all about and learning the ropes. And once I started doing it and I started, getting some track athletes and they started doing pretty good and everything. And when a lot of the track athletes finished, they become the ones that I knew had good abilities of knowing how to do things, I hired them as my assistant coach. And then my thing is that my coaching has become more like a family situation. It's more like I'm helping kids get a degree, and this is a part of the way I can help them by coaching. And we've had up there because every Thanksgiving I had to feed my whole track team because most of them couldn't go home. And I did that for almost 20 years. And they couldn't go home. A lot of them couldn't go home. A lot of them, from Florida, or from the Bahamas, or from Jamaica, or from California, or whatever. They just couldn't go home. And so I just made it a part of my family. And by making it a part of my family, it just grew and grew. Like my daughter said, they asked her, was she the only child? She said, no. She said, I got so many sisters and brothers, I don't even know their name. Okay. Because everybody on the track team was at her house eating and and so see, that's what make good coaches. See, good coaches is not all the guys who putting up the X's and O's and good coaches are made by good people, good athletes. And if you don't have good athletes and good people, you can't be good at what you're doing. I don't care how hard you work and how hard you want it to work, it's not going to work. And so I end up getting kids. And what a lot of coaches don't understand, every kid that's on that athletic program, on their athletic program, they want guidance. And my job was to make sure I guide these young people in the right way. And I should always tell them when they do something wrong, like I don't know about it, I tell them in a minute, hey, y'all look at me. I wasn't born grown. Same thing you guys went through. I grew up just like you grew up, and they began to understand those things. And God has been good. I tried to follow his path. And my wife, she stuck with me. One time I thought she was going to walk out that door one day, boy. I tell you, we had some issues. because ain't no money being made in coaching, and we wasn't making that much money, and I'm always out there with the kids and doing stuff. And I came home and she said, "What you want to eat?" I said, "Boy, I like to have a nice steak and some rice and corn and everything." And she said, "Okay." And she cooked. And when I got back to the table, I had a nice pork chop, rice, and corn. And I said, "What happened to the steak?" She said, "You started making some steak money. You get some." And so that shut me down real quick. I knew it wasn't any money into that. So it's been a good ride, and I love every kid that come through St. Augustine's, the ones that was world class, or some of the ones that just didn't make the bus. I love them. They're all the same. I treated every one of them the same. There was none of them better than the other ones, because they all was looking for some kind of guidance, trying to get out of college to improve. Because I always tell them that. I used to always, my favorite thing is to say, what the first thing they tell you? Anybody ever flown in here? And everybody says, some of them. I said, but when you get on the airplane, what the first thing they tell you to do? They say, well, they tell you to buckle your seatbelt up, and then the lady go in and say, if the oxygen mask fall, make sure you put it on, and make sure you put it on yourself first, and then help somebody else. I said, that's right. That's why you're at St. Aug. You put that oxygen mask on yourself first so you can help somebody else. Because if you try to help somebody else here without putting your oxygen mask on, all y'all die. Okay? And so we just figured it out, and it turned out to be what it is. But I'm still thinking now, man, all these championships, I can't remember. Doc, if you ask me to remember one good one, I couldn't even remember it, I'm sorry about it, but I just love to see the kids perform, and I let them tell me what happened later when I see them and we get together.
Well, Coach, there's one thing you remember, and that's getting a call and being told you were going to be the Olympic track coach. Talk about that feeling when you found out you were going to be, the coach of the Olympic team. I can't. What year? I'm like you, and what it meant to you, to the school, to the program.
That was something, because there hadn't been but one or two head Black coaches in the Olympics for men in 200 years. Mm-hmm. People don't know that. And as of today, there's probably hadn't been no more than 5 head Black Olympic coaches for men in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I we was traveling, and we left, and they was voting for the coaches, and I didn't have no idea I was gonna get that. We were in at the airport getting ready to go on, come back to Raleigh, and I got a call from Deanne Voichester, who was a good friend of mine, and said, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "Hey, we getting ready to jump on this flight, this red eye, and get on back to Raleigh." She said, "Are you standing or sitting?" I said, "I'm sitting, waiting on my flight." She said, "Well, you've just set a record. You've been elected as the head United States Olympic coach faster than anybody, all the students, athletes, and everybody. You were elected in 13 seconds. It usually take people 2 days to get elected." And I said, "Wow, something I've done right. I don't know what it was, but I know I'm a pretty hard-headed guy. I know when I was in Seville, Spain, I asked my coach to go out and take the shot putters out to train, and he didn't. And so I give him his ticket back home." He said, "Well, I got my wife here." I said, "Well, hey, it's your responsibility to get her back too." And I don't play when I'm doing my job. I treat every kid the same. When I tell them what my plans are, I stick with them. I don't change in the middle of the screen. I go with what I need to go with. And I think the kids and the athletes love the way I manage my program. So I thank all the athletes for being a part of that selection. And I always love those athletes, man, and because see, people like I keep telling people, they see the glory, but they don't know the story from which these kids come from. They just see they see that glory the TV show you, but they all come from different backgrounds and different ethnic groups, and they weren't big television stars when they came out to try for the Olympic team. Okay.
And for everybody that's listening, I can't remember how many that was won, but at that year, the United States set a record for medals, total medals in track. And I remember before they closed it down, the Raleigh Sports Council always had a banquet.
Right.
They would pick a North Carolinian sports person of the year, the UNC coach got it, Roy Williams, Coach K got it, and I was there that night when you got sports person of the year for your performance coaching the Olympics and the records that were set.
And that was beautiful. And if I can talk about that Olympic, y'all wouldn't even believe what happened with that, man. It's a lot of things went down, and nobody, like they talked about all this stuff. Every Olympic got some kind of drama going on, something. But we had a lot, and you never heard a thing about it. Not one word about it, because the fact that I made them say, no, you don't have to talk about this. When you talk about this, you're damaging your own people. We kept it quiet, but boy, some things happen. I tell you that.
I'm sure.
And I even got 5 death threats.
What, being named coach?
Being the Olympic coach, yeah. Man, I had the FBI, CIA taking me, my family. They were living up by the Metropolis. They had to come and get them. And I said to myself, I told the FBI, why y'all around me like that? They said, well, you got all these death threats. We got to look at it and find out where they're coming from. I said, they ain't looking for no black man. They said, don't let me coach. I said, y'all gonna give me up. I said, they probably looking for a white guy somewhere, They didn't know. And Al Qaeda did 2 of them, It was crazy, man. So y'all giving me away, man. Come on.
They looking for a white man as a coach.
Yeah, they ain't looking for me. And we had snipers all over the place, man. I was more nervous, but I never let my athletes know all these snipers around and all the stuff we were having. And that was a good thing, because if they had known, they probably got nervous and messed up. But I didn't let nobody know anything. And I had a security guy, an FBI agent, and this one was black. And I went and got a Jamaican uniform and give it to him, so he could walk around in the Jamaican uniform. They thought he was Jamaican around hanging out with the USA. Man, that guy was protecting all of us, I figured it out, But it's just been a good life, and like, yes, good people. I know Alex ever since he was a little old boy growing up around there. But to me, Gerald, this is a pleasure, man. This just does my heart so well to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. I read your magazines, your papers and stuff, but I feel like I'm sitting at the same table with you now, and we're having a good dinner. We're not having steak, but we eat this pork chop real good. You know what I mean? This pork chop is really good. So it's an honor. And I love each and every one. Benita, just like my daughter. I mean, we've been together, and it's always been there. I love you, girl. You know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coach, you're saying all that, but to me, you are as fascinating and great of a coach you are. Sitting here talking to you, you're just as great or greater person then you are a coach, and which probably makes you a great coach because of who you are. And so I'm just proud to be here, sitting here and having this conversation with you personally. In fact, I asked for this interview for us to have this because I want to be able to sit down and talk to you with these talented people that's on my staff just to get to know you, because I've been, like I said, I've been following you for a long time. Never had a chance to sit down and just have a conversation. And I was looking forward to this. It really was.
Thank you, sir. I love you though. But anything I can do, for you and your paper or whatever, don't hesitate to call, because like I say, this is an individual sport where we all in it together. At the end, we got to add all the scores up. We're a team,
That's right.
It's gonna
But
come
Coach,
to be a team.
you can't go until you talk about your last major accomplishment. What does it do for you when you're driving down 440 and you see the George Williams exchange?
Well, I try not to go back that way anymore, because that's where I got fired from. Going down that highway. But it was a blessing. It was a blessing. It's definitely a blessing, man, to let my people and the people of that community know that if you work hard enough at anything can happen.
Mhm.
And for them to see that side, but it's amazing that they're going to have to know the history, because most of us don't, because I was at one of St. Aug football games, and I never forget it. And I was standing up, and some little girls up there, and they looked up at the scoreboard and said, George Williams. When did he die? I said, he's dead. So you never know,
That's true.
But I'm glad that we have something with a Black person name on it.
Mhm.
It just happened to be mine, but if it would have been anybody Black, I would have been happy and
Mhm.
joyful. But because the fact that our race has done some great things, and we're still trying to keep doing great things, and once we understand how to unite, and stop going in with a wide hand out here, going with a tight fist, and keep it all together, baby. We can box with that, We can't box with this, Separated. Look how wide they apart,
Mhm.
But I am so thrilled and so happy, and we need to support each other all the time, man. We talk about all this thing, and I was just saying to myself, I said one time I was talking to some pro football player, Dwayne Washington. And I said, Dwayne Washington, if every Black pro athlete, we're not even asking the white guys, but some of them will jump in anyway, because that's who they are sometimes, would give $25,000 a year instead of giving, drinking and spending it and not saving it as a saver for HBCU schools, you know how much money that would generate?
Mhm.
And they won't even miss it.
Mhm.
They're not missing it now. They're throwing it away,
Mhm.
It would help the HBCU schools so much, and regardless of how good they are and how legendary they are and how good, but they're still on the dark side, okay?
Mhm.
They're still Black. I don't care what they do and how much they do and how much money you carry and how much you have. In this country, you're still a Black man, a Black lady, a Black person. And that's the way it is. And I don't know when that narrative's gonna change. I probably won't get a chance to see it, because my runway is real short. You know what I mean? I gotta get my plane up quick. That's I've been around for a while, But
Well,
but for you young folks, you and that, y'all still got a chance to see some things. You know what I mean?
me too.
Yeah.
Well, Richard Highland said to tell you, he writes, I remember Pup from the time I was at St. Aug, class of 68.
Right.
Highland.
Yeah.
Said to tell you it was a great seeing you.
That was my man, Richard Highland. Yeah.
Okay, now, James Robinson says, this isn't a question, but a thank you to Coach Williams for being that father figure in college when you are away from home.
Right.
This is your shot putter from 98 to 2002, James Robinson. I've made history myself working with the Florence County Department of Disabilities and Special Needs as the first Black male to hold that position.
It's so many kids out there doing so well. And that's all we want to buy. But they got to understand, they got to remember where they come from too. You know, I definitely know where I came from. And you'll keep moving because the groundwork was laid out at St. Augustine's University, and now it's your time. It's your time, and it's your time to do those things that I tried to teach you and tried to make you understand. All you young folks out there, because there's a lot of y'all out there, and now y'all have had kids, and they're out there, and they're doing. It's just like, you know, it's just like a puzzle. It's keep growing and growing and growing, you know, and let's keep it growing. But we got to tell them the right things. We don't hide your history. Don't hide your love. Don't hide where you came from. Just put it on out there. Tell it, and let them see how you grew, and then they'll grow the same way. You know.
One more question from someone. So, what will you offer to youth athletes today that aspire to be a great student athlete? What did you look for in your athletes as you were recruiting?
First of all, let's leave the athlete out. Be a great person. Okay? That athletic is secondary. If you're a great person, you'll be a great athlete, a great whatever you want to be, a great banker, a great, you might own a newspaper just like Gerald does. But just you can tell he was the great man. You know, you don't have to go around the corner to wonder why he's persevere like this. That's the first time I met him. He's a great man. The great man. So all you have to do is find the people that want to do and great people and treat them like you would want your daughter or your son or somebody in your family treated. And then teach them the techniques and mechanics of that event, of that sport. And then they'll move on for you. Because once the kid like you, he'll jump off Mount Everest for you. Okay.
That's true. That's true. All right. Another one. Let's see if I pronounce this right. Dior, D-I-O-R,
Dio.
Dio. Okay.
Dio.
He says, I will never forget one of the first things Coach told me while still in my youth. Coach said he was going to make sure I graduated, and he meant it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Coming back for you, Coach.
Yeah. Oh, Dio.
Well, I'm drained.
Hey, this has been fun, man. To just talk to you guys. You know, I've known you youngsters all my life, really. You know, most of my life, and ever since you guys got started, and I'm proud and happy with you, and I'm more happy that you are in a business with a man like Mr. Gerald Johnson, and because it didn't have to go that way, you know.
That's true.
You know, like I said, God don't make winners or losers; He makes choosers. It could have gone another direction, and so He made it so you guys have been blessed and with a blessed man and a blessed company, and you need to let other folks understand that. My granddaughter from Penn State, when she graduated in marketing, and she was marketed, and she was the only one in there, you know. And so I said, well, gosh, you're the only one in marketing, you know, what you gonna do? She said, well, I might go to New York or somewhere and look in the marketing department. And I said to myself, what about your own marketing department? Why don't you develop your own pocket? Find another Black person out there who's in marketing. Y'all develop your own marketing department. Because the marketing departments in New York, those white folks making a whole lot of money. But they ain't gonna give you any of it. So you need to get your own marketing department going on, you know. And so so I learned that coming up. You know, I wasn't bone grown. I've seen it all, you know. And
Alex,
but thank
and
you
it's
all for choosing me. I tell you,
Yeah.
so gosh, see,
Yeah.
this is better than
Fascinating conversation.
this is better than this is better than flying by my name on the highway. You be driving 75 or 60 miles an hour, you might not see them in the blurs, you know. But this is real here. This is real, you know. This is absolutely real. This is dynamic. I love you guys, man. You
right.
just don't know. And Linda, I don't know where you are, baby, but you know how to get it done.
Oh, we got a question. Let's see. Oh, Jamal Torrance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, Jet.
Just wanted to say thanks to Coach Williams for taking 2 young men from Florida, turning them into national champs, world champs, and great men. He always has words of wisdom. Love you, Coach.
Thank you, Jet. Love you, baby.
Dolores Todd.
bet,
D.
man.
Todd. D. Todd. Dolores
Oh,
Todd.
wow.
G.
That's my
Todd.
sister. That's my sister.
Todd.
Oh,
Mhm.
boy.
Coach Williams
I
is
love
like
that.
family to me. I was looking for a school for him. Joy said, bring him to me.
Mm,
Love him, brother.
mhm.
And Marquita Davis Carter
Mhm.
says, thank you, Coach.
That girl come to me with a 5-step, and then she won the NCAA set a world record in the hurdles. She went from 5 to 3. It set the NCAA national championship record. Go tweet, tweet, tweet.
Yeah, there you go.
And she was my sister coach for a while, but you know, she got started working for free.
She wanted her own steak.
Hey, but she got her own space.
That's
She's doing
right.
very
Her
well.
doing her
Very
own
well.
space.
Has her own
There you
business and
go.
everything. She's doing great. Mhm.
All right. There you go, Coach.
Linda,
Yes.
thank you, baby. You put this thing together.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want them
thank
to leave
you.
you out. I don't want them to leave you out. You know,
Oh, thank
without
you.
a technician like you, this wouldn't have happened.
That's
Thank
true.
you.
See, like I say, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know the play. Y'all put me in the huddle. I know what's going on now. Thank you
Okay.
guys so very much. Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thank
keep doing
you.
it. You keep going it. It's
Okay,
your time
appreciate
now.
that.
All right.
All right.
Make sure it happens right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I got a couple other things before we close out there. I just want to say, this webinar was more than just a reflection on your incredible legacy of Coach George. It was a celebration of what's possible when passion meets purpose. Your 50+ years journey, your 39 national championship, and your leadership on Olympic stage remind us that greatness is just not measured in medals and titles, but in the lives we impact along the way. And that's what you've done, the conversation, the caring beyond the track fields. So we hope you leave today, our audience, inspired, informed, and reminded of the power of mentorship, consistency, and the vision in everything we do. On behalf of the Triangle Tribune and our sister company, the Charlotte Post, we thank everyone for being a part of this meaningful conversation. We'd also like to invite you to a couple of upcoming events that we're having. Our next webinar will be next Wednesday, May 21st. Attorney Alicia Brown, the impact of gentrification in the Black community. We want you all to come out there. There's a correction, the time is actually from 6 to 7:30. You can go and register at thecharlottepost.com and thetriangletribune.com as well. And following that, we have Black Music Month in June. Every Wednesday in June at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be bringing you some of the finest talents here in North Carolina. We have Karen Briggs on Wednesday, June 5th, will be opening, a violinist. Maria Howard, the following week, a vocalist. Then following Harvey Cummings, saxophonist, and ending on the Sound of the Times. So we would love to have you. There's no cost at all for this. Go to our website and register, share the information. We hope you enjoyed today's session. Please stay connected with us. Follow us online, subscribe to our newsletters, and be on the lookout for even more upcoming events and features as we continue to shine a light on Black excellence. Thank you again for your time, your engagement, and your presence. Stay safe, stay encouraged, and keep striving for greatness. Thank you.
Hey, could I say one thing before y'all get off?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I want to thank all my family. I want to thank all my student athletes, all those who came through from the Olympics student athletes and to my St. Augustine's athlete. And I want to thank to the community of Raleigh, North Carolina, and to this Weber group here. None of this would have happened without you guys putting the notoriety out there. And I want to say to you all each and every day, may God continue to bless each and every one of you all. And thanks for everything, because all you all now is a part of this ride. And I just hope that it's not too bumpy, but we can try to move on down the road, okay? And move on down the road. And I love you young people. Here is your time. Understand that. You know, we're moving on, okay? But it's your time. Do the right thing. And the right thing was happening. Make the right decisions. And the right things will come on. And make sure, pick your friends. Don't let them pick you because they want something, okay? I love you.
Okay.
I love you. All right. Take care and thank you, and thank all my track student athletes. I love all of you all and hope you in your life. And you know, here, Coach Williams is here. If you need something, and all the students and went to St. Augustine's University, and you know what I'm saying? Are you okay? If you're not, let me know. I'm still here. So if you need something, just pick up the phone. I'll be close to it. I'm just the closest to telephone. I don't care where you are. Thank you. Love you. And this group, this Weber, y'all keep the good work up, because you got something going good for the community, and the community needs you all. Okay? Thank you so very much. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Stay on before you step away there. We're going to end our recording.